And welcome to Abundant Retirement with me, Tony Roberts. And as always, we are glad that you're here listening, and hopefully, maybe some of you got us pulled up and actually see a video of two old white guys trying to do something right in the business every now and then. But yeah, it's all good. What can I say here? As always, Mr. Tony Shore is handling the microphone on the other end, trying to make me look like I know something about what I'm doing and saying and everything else like that. So, Mr. Shore, I know it's been a couple of weeks. I was out of town traveling last week, but I hope you and your family and everybody's doing well, and look forward to today's show.
We are, Tony, and we're doing great. In fact, we had a nice long weekend. You were out, so I took a couple of days off last week, the end of the week, just to try to get caught up at home. I
Yeah.
did. I put in some sod, and yeah, that's a
Oh
lot
wow.
of work. Let me
Yes.
just tell
Yeah.
you that putting in sod is actual work, which
Yeah.
I'm typically allergic to. My allergies, to manual labor kind of started acting up, but
Yeah. No, those sod rows are heavy, man. I've done that before myself. Those sod rows are heavy.
yeah, in preparing the ground, we had to kind of, make sure it was dig down, rake it flat, roll it out. I
Yeah.
mean, it seems like it would be simple and easy, but it's just work. And it
It's
was
a lot of
hot.
work.
It was
Yeah.
really hot.
Yeah.
So,
Well, keep water on it, brother, or it'll
oh
all
yeah.
be for naught, man. If you don't keep it wet, especially early on, you got to really soak it.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, I have been.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I know that. That's for sure. Well, how about you? I know you've done some traveling, which is nice, and
Yeah,
probably been
we
spending
were
some
up in
time.
Quebec with the summer the summer gala with Gradient, one of our our marketing companies and things like that, and we were up there and got to see some good friends of ours. Got to hear some new technology and things like that that are coming out that's going to make us be able to help and do better with our
Yeah,
clients. And we're uh, embracing artificial intelligence in some things that will allow us to do bigger and better reports, more efficient, more timely, and do different things like that. So, yeah, we had some good business meetings. Got to see some new things that are coming down the pike in the next 30 to 60 days. But we also got to have a little fun.
yeah.
As I was
Did you
telling you
play
before.
music bingo?
No, I'm sorry. I didn't make
Because
it
I
to the
heard
lovely Miss Gretchen Beatty's music
Oh, I heard that was
bingo.
the highlight. You missed
Oh,
out. Some of
yeah.
the top advisors were there, but I do know that you spent a lot of time with some of the other top advisors in the country, which
Yeah,
you yourself are one of, and
yeah.
that's always helpful and beneficial, isn't it?
Well, it is because you get to hear what other people are running up against. You also get to hear what other people are maybe doing. And Tony, it's in a multitude of things. I mean, it's not just uh, from our standpoint. It's not just taking care of our clients and to the best of our abilities, but also, you know, we're running a business, and with business, you've got to have human resources and legal and all of these things that you have to have in your back room to make sure that you're putting out a quality product up front. And so, yeah, it's always nice to be able to sit down with other people that are in sort of the same part of life that we are, and
Yeah.
same size and different things. Hear what maybe they're doing that we can take home and implement, and sometimes we have some things that we're doing that again, it's good to have a conversation with people that understands your day in and day out.
There you go. Well, I think that's great. And I know that you've got a great topic for us. This one, boy, do I know about this one, unfortunately, and that's long-term care. Both my parents
Yeah,
are in long-term care,
yeah,
and I'm sure pretty much all of our listeners probably know somebody who has needed long-term care. I mean, it's almost 2 out of every 3 people will end up
yeah,
needing long-term care, right?
yeah. And Tony, it goes along with our retirement planning. As I've told so many times, so many of these podcasts and everything else, that when you put a proper retirement plan together, it's just not about replacing your income and hoping you don't go broke. It's about, do you embrace the same amount of risk components? What is inflation going to do to you? What are taxes going to do to you? Do you have all of your legal planning in place with your wills and power of attorney documents, medical directives, maybe some trust? Um, how do you want your legacy to end up? When
Hmm.
you're done with everything.
Yeah.
But probably one of the biggest concerns that we hear in our day to day meetings with clients, and it's just what you just said, Tony, is everybody has somebody, whether it's mom, dad, grandma, grandpa, aunts, uncles, friends, whatever. Everybody knows of someone who has had to go through care. And that care might be at home, it might be in assisted living, it might be in nursing home or skilled care. But the more care that is needed, the more expensive it gets. And as a couple I just met with earlier today before we started the podcast, it's not only having to pay these astronomical prices out to take care of care if somebody needs it, but if you've got a spouse that's still healthy and at home, that person's still got to live also. So where's the money going to come from? And
And it's
it's
expensive.
expensive. Oh my
Oh,
gosh, it's my mom. The last 7 months of her life, I think it was running around $342 a day for her care, and it's increasing by about 6 to 7% year over year, which
yeah.
means it's doubling in price about every 10 to 12 years.
Yeah, when my mom has been in long-term care 2.5 years,
Yeah,
okay? Almost 3 now.
yeah,
And when she first went in, it was $6,000.
yeah.
Well, she needed some more, and she needs full everything now, right?
Right,
She needs full-time care. She has late-stage Parkinson's, can't do anything on her own.
right.
It is currently $11,000 a month,
Yeah,
and it was 6,000. So she's paying 11,000 a month. I mean, she's not paying. She did have insurance that covers about 1,500 of that a month,
uh huh.
and then she had to
Social
use
Security.
Medicaid,
Yeah,
and then her Social Security.
yeah,
Um, between the three, because they didn't have enough saved up to do it.
yeah.
Now, since then, my dad has inherited his dad's farm because my grandpa passed away. Well, that farm has been in our family forever, right?
Right, right.
And in fact, since it was homesteaded in 1855, the original
Wow,
deed for the land.
wow.
So it's my dad was raised there, or my grandfather was raised there, my dad was raised there, and I was raised there on that
Yeah,
same, right?
yeah,
Because there's two houses, I lived on the farm and my grandparents lived on the farm, and I lived in the house, the other house. So my parents and I, but the thing is, now the state will go after it because they use
sure.
Medicaid and the state
Yeah,
wants its money back. So if once my dad passes, they can go after that.
right.
So,
I
uh,
mean, y- Tony, what I see all along, and I do think our parents' generation was considered to be the greatest generation.
yeah,
I agree with that. I mean, they
yeah,
our parents, our grandparents, they sacrificed a lot. I mean,
they did.
they one or two or three wars, however you want to look at it.
Yeah,
Um, but what I have found, the one thing that they did not do very well is a lot of times maybe planning. They didn't want to communicate private subjects with
never talked about
not
money.
only with strangers or advisors like ourselves, but they didn't even want to talk to family about it.
No,
They
they
just
didn't.
said, you
My
know what?
grandfather didn't talk
It-
to anybody. My
no.
mom and dad didn't talk,
And
and
so
they didn't
whenever
educate the kids on it either.
no. And so when something happens to them, it's sort of like, okay, well, I guess we got to go in there and find out what's what and this that, and the other. So that is the one thing that I hear from so many of my current clients, that they wish that their parents had been more transparent with them, had talked about more things while
Yep.
they were here about the way they wanted things to be after they're gone, instead of just leaving it up to family members trying to figure it out themselves or end up in a fight themselves or whatever the case may be. So, yeah, that's the one thing they did. But I thought this subject today was very prevalent. Um, Probably outside of taxes, this could be the largest expense that you would have in retirement.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Um,
It
yeah,
is the largest that a
yeah,
lot of people are going to experience. And taxes and healthcare are the two big ones in
yeah,
retirement.
and the biggest reason for bankruptcy in this country are unplanned healthcare expenses, and namely,
Yep.
it usually triggers around long term care and things like this. So a little, let's just maybe a little bit of the background. Let's maybe get some definitions out of the way and different things like that.
Sure.
But what exactly is long term care? Well, it is at a point in life when you start needing help with what we call activities of daily living. And they could be bathing, dressing, eating, toileting, transferring in and out of a chair, in and out of a bed, or whatever the case may be.
Yep.
But whenever you start to have trouble with any of these activities of daily living and you need to have somebody else help you, that's considered to be a long-term care situation. And this care usually starts, as you know, Tony, in the home. And whether it is with a spouse or another family member, or you're bringing somebody in from the
Yep.
outside, the care usually starts in the home. And I've heard so many stories of people saying, don't ever take me away from my home. Don't move me away from my home. Dotty dotty dot. Well, I understand that, but it gets to be at a point to where maybe we cannot give you the type of care you need at home. So
Right.
then that brings in the assisted livings and the memory cares and the skilled care, the nursing home cares, and that's where we start mounting some serious expense and debt. Uh,
Yeah, it starts around $4,000 or $5,000 a month for
yeah,
good in-home care and assisted living, and it goes all the way up to memory care in a in a newer private facility, at least around here, is about 12 grand a month.
yeah. I had and they've since passed, but I had a couple down in the western part of Kentucky that very well off, and they had 24/7 care at their home for both of them, running between $15,000 and $16,000 a month.
Wow.
So I mean, they were going through. Not just think about this, Tony. Our parents, God bless them, I would say many of them never made $15,000 a month. Some of them
Right.
may not have made $15,000 a year, but I
Right.
guarantee they probably did not make fifteen thousand
Of
dollars a
course
month.
not.
And to sit there, let's just say 20 years ago, and try to have a conversation with your mom or your dad, my mom, my dad, and say, "Mom, hey, look, down the road, we may be spending $10,000 a month for your care. We probably need to plan for this." They would look like at you like you had horns growing out of your head. What
Yeah.
are you talking about? We're going to spend $10,000 a month for care because they grew up at a time to where family took care of family,
Yeah.
and mostly that was the female's job to do it. We had more of an agricultural type communities back then. The men worked outside and on the farms and ranches and things like that. And
And people
you
didn't live as long either.
no, people didn't live as long. And the moms, the wives, the daughters, whatever, took care of keeping the house together and preparing meals and things like that. Well, guess what? When mom and dad got sick, the caregiving sort of embraced those the women of the families. And man, it's hard. Caregiving is hard. And so, but today we've got two income families. There's nobody at home to sort of bring mom and dad in and take care of them. So again, that's the reason we had these assisted livings and the nursing homes expandings and things like that. And again, if you want to be in a place that you'd want to have your mom or your dad in, those places are going to cost more money than some place you probably wouldn't take your dog to. So again, these are
Yeah.
just things that are part of it. And so, and the scary thing about this, Tony, is this: the cost of long-term care is running at about a 6 to 7% increase year over year, which means these costs are doubling every 10 to 12 years.
Yeah.
So if you're spending 100 grand today, 12 years down the road, you're spending 200. Another 12 years down the road, we're spending 400. And again, it's just like what you're talking about with your mom and your dad and stuff like that. You wanted to hand down land and a farm and like that for generations and generations and generations, and now because of long-term care expenses, it puts that farm at risk. And because the here's the other misconception: a lot of people think Medicare pays for long-term care. It does not, and you just hit on it. If you become poor, you have to make yourself become poor.
You have to have a spend down.
You have to have a spend down,
Everything but
and
about 2 grand plus, if you have a house that
yeah, they
you're,
won't take the house, but they'll attach the house once the
yeah,
care is over.
yes,
And
they
and the
put a
same
lien on
thing
the
with a
house.
farm. The
Yep,
same thing with the farm. They put a
yep,
lien on that. So again, it's sad, but it's a necessary evil. But it's part of planning.
yeah,
It's the same thing. It needs to be planned for, just like taxes. So I know we've carried on a little bit with that, but the costs are expensive.
yeah,
We know what it is, and when you sit there and think about it, okay, how am I going to pay for it?
yeah.
Well,
What are the funding options?
yeah. So if you're high net worth, or let's maybe say you've socked away a bunch of money into your health savings account through the years, you could self fund it. But even if you're high net worth and you start taking 100, 200, $300,000 out of your portfolio every year, how does that look like? What does that look like 5 years, 10 years down the road? Can you afford it? Can you afford to run out of money? So those are things that you've got to look at. So
Yeah,
self-funding, high net worth, different things like that. You can look at traditional long-term care insurance, but you got to be in good health. You got to be
hmm,
cost conscious. And because long-term care only is written on a health chassis, the insurance companies have the right and ability to raise your premiums every so many years. And not like in the old days, Tony, you can't compress and quick pay these things. I mean, back in the day, we used to have like 5 pay and 7 pay long-term care policies. And after that, the payments were over. And regardless of what the claims experience was through the insurance company, they couldn't come back and reopen and say, oh, we got to jack your claims up because, or jack your quote or premiums up because you're not paying premiums anymore. But those days are gone.
yeah,
It's year over year over year, and they can pay it. There's no lifetime policies anymore. They all cap these things and say, you're going to either have 4 or 5, maybe some 6-year policy benefits that are out there. So again, you can go buy long-term care. Now,
it's
with
tougher
that
though
being
to
said,
get those traditional long-term care
it's
policies. Not
very
a
tough.
lot of insurance companies don't
No,
cover them, and they're outrageously expensive, right?
exactly right.
Yeah,
So that leads me into how we take care of the benefits for long-term care if you're looking for it. And we use the insurance companies, in my opinion, did something very smart, I don't know, 10, 12 years ago, but they came out with these new hybrid plans.
yeah,
I see. And so basically, Tony, if you've got a $500,000 life insurance policy, you can also use that $500,000 to pay for long-term care. And the math is simply, it's usually on a 2% per month basis. So if I've got a $500,000 life insurance policy at 2% a month, that's $10,000 a month for that I can trigger for long-term care. So if you do the math to that, and you triggered, in this case, the full 10,000 a month for, it's going to last a little over 4 years. Well, the average stay for care usually runs somewhere between 2 to 5 years. So a policy like this may be able to take care of something in that type of scenario. Now, the cool thing about it is this: you've got the long-term care coverage in your hip pocket, but let's say you died of a heart attack. Then, unlike traditional long-term care policies, which would be just sort of like renting a house, and it's like, okay, I put in all of this money forever and ever and ever to go someplace I really don't want to go to, and now I've passed away of a heart attack. So it's basically worthless. It's gone. With the life insurance, guess what? That 500,000 policy now becomes 500,000 of tax-free money that would go to a beneficiary. You can also have cash value accounts with these policies that can give you tax-free growth and tax-free income. So, and the cool thing about it too is this, Tony, because it's built on a life chassis, guess what the insurance companies will not do? They will not come in and increase your premiums down the road just because they got bad claims exposure. So, in my opinion, and we've had a lot of conversations with current clients and people that we are looking at this type of coverage for, they feel like these new hybrid policies make a lot of sense and are the way to go. So that's how we pretty much support long-term care planning by having to do the insurance thing with our clients, and
Yeah,
and
and
it
so
seems to make sense for them.
yeah, and so what you're saying is, for our listeners out there, when you work with somebody for your clients, you work this into their overall retirement plan. So you look at healthcare costs, you look at long-term care costs, and say, hey, you might want to get one of these hybrid policies with a
Mhm.
long-term care rider on it to help you cover long-term care costs if you need
Correct.
it, and if you don't need it, it'll go.
And
You'll have the
we've
death
got it
benefit.
there. We've got it there. Leverage your assets. We've got tax-free legacy benefits for you. We've got income and cash value in the policy that, again, is part of your asset portfolio, just like your other holdings, whether it be managed money or stocks, bonds, annuities, whatever the case may be. It's another part of your portfolio. And again, you've got that long-term care in your hip pocket. Um,
Yeah.
Tony, you
Well,
just hit on it. You just hit on it with your mom in the face that, you know, if there's not enough money there, then you go to Medicaid. But again, you've got to go through spin down. You could possibly lose the value or part of the value of your home or your farm after death down the road. Um, and it's only for skill care only. So if you're in memory care at $7,000 a month, that doesn't qualify for Medicaid. You've got to be in skilled care or nursing home care and things like that. You've got to be needing assistance with these activities of daily living that we touched on at back at the beginning of the show. So Medicaid is basically what happens when somebody doesn't put the planning together early on to make sure that things like this are taken care of, or at least partially taken care of down the road. And again, for our parents and grandparents, it's sort of sad because I really just don't think they ever realized that they would be in a predicament to where they'd have to be sitting there and having this to be, a conversation or an alternative. They just didn't plan for it, and it's sort of sad from that. So again, yeah, when you're looking at the overall picture of a formal retirement plan, having a conversation with your current clients about long-term care is something that we do day in and day out. Now, whether or not they want to go down the path of doing anything about it or not, that's up to the people that are involved. But I think it's important as an advisor and as a fiduciary trying to look out for the best interest of our clients that we make them understand the costs that are involved and how it can wreck, I mean, literally wreck a retirement plan if you don't have some of this put into place and planned for.
yeah. Well, and I think two key takeaways I'm getting from what you're saying here is communication with your family is key, and work with a financial professional. That's one and
Yeah.
two. And if you're not already working with a trusted financial services professional, a fiduciary who's helping you lay out not only a financial plan, but a retirement plan, and making that part of it, you need to be, and that's where you come in. And I know that you and the staff there at A. Roberts and Associates, that's what you do. This is how you help people. And so I'm going to encourage our listeners to pick up the phone and give you a call to help with this. Make sure you have a plan in place. A lot of people have questions about this. What can I do? Everybody's situation is different.
Yeah.
Every solution for this isn't going to be the same for everyone. And you sit down and look at, okay, here's what you've got, here's where you're at. that type of thing. What do you have for family? What do you have for savings? Where do you want this to go? What do you want to leave your loved ones with? It all depends, doesn't it?
It does, and part of the things we do, we run models to look at long-term care scenarios and say, "Hey, look, what if we're 15, 20 years down the road and we have to start taking out $100,000 a year for care? What does that do to the overall retirement plan?" And again, not only for the person that's needing care for, but for maybe a spouse that's still at home. So we run those simulations. Um, we do estimates. We stress test your retirement plan, but then things that you need, like you just said, Tony, having conversations with your family. Who's going to help you make these decisions. Where do you want to receive care? I mean, most people say I want to receive care at home, but there's some people that say I don't want to put burden on my children or grandchildren to have to come in and
Sure.
take care of me at home. I just go put me someplace, especially maybe if you got an Alzheimer's or a memory care issue. A memory care facility may be the best place to be. So again, where do you want to receive that care? And do you have your legal documents properly in place, your wills, your power of attorneys, your advanced directives? Because if you get to a point in time to where you're not cognitively responsible for making decisions on your behalf, then somebody's going to have to do that on the medical side as well as the financial side. So these are very important things to look at. So again, Tony, in summary, I guess as we close today, I mean, you could self-fund this stuff. You could look at traditional long-term care. You could look at some of these new hybrid policies. You could maybe try to go through Medicaid planning, but again, you're sort of crystal ball in that. You're looking down the road. Do you really want to give up assets while you're healthy and enjoying life in order to qualify for something you may or may not need down the road? Because there is a 5-year look back with Medicaid. So
Hmm.
again, these are all things that are very, very important to have conversation with somebody, not only like myself that does the planning, but with your family members, and say, look, if this happens, here's the way we want to go about dealing with it. And that's, to me, it's just being very, very positive, very wise.
Yeah, I would agree. Well, great show today. A lot of great information. And listeners and viewers out there, pick up the phone and give Tony and his staff there a call or visit the website. Tony, give that web address and phone number one time before we
Yeah,
go.
sure. The website is A Roberts Associates. Again, A Roberts Associates.com. Our toll free number is 888-955-3665. Um, or if you want to email us at info at abundantretirementplanning.com. Again, info at abundantretirementplanning.com. And one of our staff members will definitely get back to you and set up a time that we can meet, have a cup of coffee, start talking about some of these issues. And then if we need to, dig a little deeper and take it on to another level, we can do that as well down the road.
All right. Well, that sounds great, Tony. Listeners, thanks for tuning in. That does it for today's episode of Abundant Retirement with our host, Tony Roberts.